It's on. Is it working right? I also have to check the audio. I was messing around with the mic and doing some shenanigans there. So I gotta check the mic. Notification. Oh yeah, I didn't actually. It's fine. It's fine. Hold on. Gotta let people know we're streaming. That's a video. That's not what I wanted. Streaming. Woo! How do I make it? Okay, there we go. There we go. Streaming. Yay. And now we are going to essentially just do an audio check. Just pull this up on my phone so I know if we're making noise. Because, you know, it'd be a real shame if we weren't. Got you. Okay. On to streaming business. Just stay there. Did you see them? No. Sorry. But you missed it. Nugget literally walked over Chip's face, and Chip was just. Hi, shalom, salutations, friends. We are discussing things today. What are we discussing? The Wave. I first want to get into why I loved this book so much as a child. It's kind of something I don't know why, but I was very, very passionately interested in World War II and studying World War II. To the point where I did finagle multiple assignments into being something in which I would get a chance to do more research on World War II for if they gave us some degree of an open-ended assignment, I could finagle my way into doing a research project on World War II, Nazi studying, and just trying to study and research that whole situation. But if we're being honest, if I had stayed in school, there's a good chance I probably would have gone into World War II studies. That's how passionately interested I was in World War II. And so I came across this book, I want to say in middle school, and then I just kept rereading it all the time after that. So this book, what happens in this book is we have this history teacher, Ben. He's trying to teach his class about World War II. And keep in mind, timeline for this is probably 70s or 80s. So it is not at all, realistically, today is not that far off from the Holocaust. But they were, right around the corner from that stuff. But this does take place in the United States. And so, yo, can I help you? What's with these eyes? What's with these eyes? So it takes place in probably 70s or 80s. The book is published in the 80s, but it is based on a true story. This did actually happen. And you have this teacher, Ben. He's teaching the kids about World War II. And everyone, when he's showing kids all about the Nazis, they're all saying, you know what, it sucks, but that would never happen again. We all learned our lesson. And as a way to kind of show them how easy it really was to fall into that trap of fascism, he decides he wants to turn his class into a little Nazi regime. And so he really heavy-handed with discipline in the class, and he notices that they all seem to really get into that. They're all really into the discipline. They're all quote unquote waiting for someone to tell them what to do. So they're doing that, and it starts with just do your homework nice. When you sit up straight in class, when you are answering questions, stand by the side, say, "Call me Mr. Ross," and then sit back down after you give your answer. And then it goes on to a point where these kids are starting to involve everyone in the school, he is assigned monitors to ensure that everyone is staying true to the wave. It gets to a point where we actually see several kids get beat up because they've said like bad things about the wave, including one of the main characters, Lori. If we're being honest, she isn't super crazy, like important to the story, I guess. So she puts out Lori and David are like dating or whatever, and she from the beginning is kind of not into the wave, right? She and her newspaper staff put together a whole article, not even a whole article, like a whole issue of the newspaper is dedicated to the wave and all the bad things that's done, the people that have gotten beat up. They get all the threats that they've been giving people. Someone sent in an anonymous letter saying that a senior bullied this junior to try and get them to join the wave, telling them that none of their friends would want to be their friends if they weren't in the wave. You better join the wave or else. And so she puts out this newspaper, and it really gets the whole school into a tiffy, to the point where the teacher, Ben, is essentially forced to end this experiment. And the way he does it is he calls all the wave members into the auditorium and says the wave is not just a classroom experiment. We are going onto live TV today, and we are going to be seeing the actual leader of the wave. Everyone gets there, and he says the real leader is Hitler. You all would have been great Nazis. And he plays for them the World War II video that they played at the beginning of the book. And it just leaves all the students like, bleh. So one of the things to note is the reason why the teacher essentially ended up letting this get too far is because he was looking at the good the students were doing in their discipline. Their homework was much better. I have a cat now. Their discipline, their homework was much better now. They also were all equals, and now that you could visibly see the visualization of that was that there was one child who was the school loser, and he was now like people were inviting him to sit at the table with him, people were talking to him, and he was probably the most invested in the wave because now it gave him a place to belong. So there's quite a lot to talk about with the issue. There were so many things that I saw as I was reading. And one, at the very beginning of this whole thing, you see the football team is trying to get everyone on the team super into the wave because they're getting this team super into the wave because their football team is trash, and they're hoping that if through the wave they're able to give the team some discipline, maybe they can start winning some games. And so what they end up doing, and what the principal allows them to do, is instead they turn their pep rally at the school into a wave rally. It is referred to as a wave rally. You have to be a member of the wave in order to go, and you like have to give a salute. Their like little wave salute. I think it's like this or something like this. You have to give their salute in order to get into the stands and in order to like be a part of the rally. That is something that the school should never have greenlit, because it does help to will you turn off the closet light for me? Right. But it does give the impression that in order to be a part of the school, in order to join in the activities of the school, you have to be a part of the wave. You do make it so you have to be a part of the wave in order to be a like social creature of the school, and the school really should not have enforced that. Another thing is when you see Ben, the teacher, talking about this thing, I truly don't understand how he can, because there's several people that are asking him, like, what are you trying to do here? And every time he explains this, he's saying that he is trying to show his students what it is like to be a Nazi. He wants to give them a taste of Nazi life. How, I don't understand how he can say that and not immediately hit the brakes. And like I don't understand how you say, you know, I'm just trying to teach my kids, like, I just want my kids to like get the feeling of being a Nazi. And when people say, you know, they're getting out of hand, but this is, he's constantly just like, but this is what the experiment calls for. But at the same time, the experiment is for them to become Nazis. So at what point are you, why are you okay with them getting out of hand? Like, I don't really, I can't, it's hard for me to really fathom that. But at the same time, I do wonder if maybe it is something about the fact that it was in the United States. This whole situation took place in the United States, where like that, the issues of Nazi Germany were very much at arm's length. It was not knocking down your door. They really were not attacking the United States at all. So it's a much more distant thing. They're able to separate themselves from it as much. I don't fully understand what the lessons what they were teaching were for this, but I wonder if that was maybe a thing, in that people in the United States are able to distance themselves more because of the actual distance between them and the Nazis during World War II. Other like small things to note was, when they're beating up these kids, one of them was a Jewish boy who didn't feel comfortable joining the wave, and he got beat up. Someone called him a dirty Jew, and part of the reason why other people were still okay with the wave was they were saying, no, these people were just using the wave to do their own thing. That's not what the wave stood for. But at the same time, you really didn't have people, you did see consistently that they were very intimidating, very aggressive to people that did not want to join the wave. They were threatening people that did not want to join the wave. They did just have this person that was Jewish, and the mob mentality that they'd already established of aggression to people who don't join the wave helped to give these people the space to exercise their own like biases and their own like cruelty onto this other boy. So it's not like they did this out of absolutely nowhere. They did have the precedent of, let's be aggressive and let's be intimidating and let's be threatening to people who did not join the wave. Also, there's a point where Lori she and the newspaper staff, after that big expose on the wave, they party at the school. She's cleaning up. She's there until night. And she feels, as she's leaving, she feels like she's getting chased through the school. And she tries to open one of the school doors. It's locked. The way, I don't know if maybe this is a different kind of door than I know, but the way they describe it is one of those doors where there's like, it's like a metal bar up against the door, and then you push in the button. It's like essentially like a long button. You push in the button, and that opens the door and lets you out. if that is the correct type of door that they were describing, I just like to state that that is actually the one kind of door you can't not open when you're in the inside. Because the reason why it comes out is to make a button is so that way the little like locking piece that is now actually open and like flush into the door, so that way you can't open it from the outside because you're not hitting the button. The button has that receipt in and allows for someone to open the door that from the inside because safety. Just a random note. Another random note. There was a fucking quote in this book that I think was absolutely obnoxious to read. It says, while doctors as a group suffered from the highest incidence of suicide, teachers had the highest incidence of headaches. And, like, I'm all for showing respect for teaching as a job. I'm all for like, your pain is valid. I don't understand. Like, I also, like, I just don't understand why this comparison. Like, it sounds so sniveling and so, like, attention getting to be like, yeah, they commit suicide all the time, but we have so many headaches. That line just, I've never noticed that line until now, and it stuck with me, and my God, like, why? Why? It was literally not even, you could have cut that line and everything would have been okay. So I don't understand who the people that greenlit this line were and why. Okay, last thing that I do want to talk about when talking about this book is essentially like the difference between, or at least the difference that I feel is between this and between military life, because we're comparing this from just my experience as a Marine Corps Junior Reserve Officer training corps member, MCJROTC in high school, which is honestly probably a very accurate comparison to be looking at since it would be the same age groups. So we want to look at comparing those two lifestyles. And so the first thing I want to talk about, discipline. For the most part, and my JROTC different from a lot of people's JROTC. There are a lot of people that I've talked to. I probably had it easier in JROTC than a lot of other people in different schools did. But JROTC, obviously discipline is ideal. But in mine parts in particular, I don't know what was up with my schools, but for the most part, if you could answer 3 questions right once a week, you got an A in the class. So there was an issue. I taught a class. Some kids just absolutely could pass the class and were passing the class, even though they had no discipline whatsoever. It was great. So there's that. This is strength through discipline, strength through community, which I'm going over their 3 mottos for the WWII. It was strength through discipline, strength through community, and strength through action. Strength through community, again, like any other club, you kind of bond with the people you're around, become a little family, stuff like that. And strength through action was his way of trying to get people to actively recruit people into the WWII, which I gotta say, I'm not gonna lie, I don't think we did that. I don't think we actively tried to recruit people to JROTC. More often than not, people got put in JROTC if they did not have if they did not choose enough electives, a lot of kids got put into JROTC, and then you had the few kids that actually wanted to be there. So we didn't like actively recruit. And the thing that I do think is, and I'm a mess. I'm sorry. So something that I did notice as I was reading is I honestly did feel a lot of similarities. It felt very similar to being in JROTC. A lot of the kids in the book were talking about how they felt like this energy when everyone was on the same page. And you do feel that, but I also felt that with like a lot of things. That, again, discipline is not exclusive to military and to military classes and stuff like that. So I would feel that in like cheerleading, when we are all like doing a routine together, I felt that in choir when we were all doing a show together, when we were all singing a song together. So like those are feelings I understood, I felt before. It honestly seems, I don't know if this school literally has just a football team and no other extracurricular whatsoever, but that's kind of the thing that I'm getting, especially like enough with Robert. Granted, I know a lot of different extracurriculars kind of sprung up probably relatively recently. Maybe. Don't quote me on that. Like, I feel like Robert, the class loser, he really needed a hobby. Like, they showed us he is not a bad student. He's not dumb. There's nothing wrong with him. He is just, he's living in the shadow of his like superstar older brother, and that pressure just put him probably in a bit of a depression, that to the point where he just felt like if he couldn't be to his brother's standards, he shouldn't try. And then because of that, everyone then would make fun of him, and that probably made him more depressed. Like, he really should have like had a hobby. He should have had a hobby. He should have joined a club that like he actually cared about. But this was probably like the era where football was the only thing anyone cared about in school. It doesn't even seem like they had cheerleaders or something. I don't know. But again, like discipline and those feelings that they're talking about, those are things you can access through a lot of different extracurriculars. I think the thing that really is different, and there's also a quote that I want to share from the book that helps me to also further this, is the thing that is different is that there's intense thought policing amongst the members of the WWII. And that is the threats and the intimidation of people who do not want to join, who do not want to belong. The literal, when they are discussing Lori after she puts out the expose of the WWII, they are discussing her as if she needs to be executed. And that is something you did not get in JROTC. If we're being honest, like there were a lot of kids who didn't really partake. There was one of the higher ranking kids when he was a senior. He was one of the star shooters of the class. He would regularly go around saying he doesn't actually like ROTC. He just wants to be there because he wants to be in the shooting club, which you have to be a part of ROTC to be a part of. That thought policing is something you do not get in JROTC. And I can't speak to being in normal military. In the actual military, to my understanding, you're still free to say what you want. You're still free to like agree and disagree with what is going on in the administration, in politics. You can, but the thing is, in the actual military, you really can't act on it in terms of, if you are assigned to go to a war that you do not believe is valid, you have no choice. You do not get to get out of that. And that is one aspect of the military that could be that, but that's one aspect of the military that is probably more difficult, but is still not this level of thought policing. And the quote that I want to share with you guys from the book is this one here. You turned your equality into superiority over non-WWII members. And that's that's how they all got to that point very quickly. Because again, we saw at the very beginning, all of these people were now equals, and so the class loser got to talk to everyone and hang out with everybody. But it was to that point when they're saying, "Oh, you're not gonna have any friends if you're not on the wave. You're not gonna have any friends if you're not in the wave. The wave is doing amazing things. The wave is just making everything better. Why can't you see that the wave is making everything better? The wave is the best option for everybody. Why can't you see that?" It is when they thought that it's when they thought superiority, but more of, I would honestly say it was less superiority, at least what was shown in the book was less superiority and more of either wave or nothing. Everyone has to be a part of the wave, or because even if it was a superiority complex, I feel like there would still be that room for people to just be inferior. What they ended up doing with these students and in this school is they had a mindset of, if you're not in the wave, then you should not, then we have to force you to be in the wave, or we have to get rid of you. And these are like some actual things people were saying in the book, but it was a mindset of everyone must be in the wave, as opposed to everyone that's in the wave is so much better than the people that aren't in the wave. We really don't see. Can I help you, Chunk? Something in front of me. It's less of, I honestly don't really see people that are going, "Oh, we're so much better than the people that aren't in the wave." You see people that are saying, "Why aren't everyone joining their wave? They're ruining it for us. We have to get them to join the wave. If they join the wave, they'll understand." So we see more of people trying to force the wave upon everyone else. You good? I don't know if you saw it, but he came and did like a jump off of my chair. He did a trick shot off my chair. But yeah, that was the wave. It was, I will say, it definitely left me with a feeling of anxiety, because it did happen. This is something that easily can happen again. It has happened since this book. And side note, I was reading reviews for this book, and some random person, like the entirety of their review was extremely pretentious, but part of their review was saying how, oh, like these people blindly followed this random teacher that has to be like these millennials and Gen Zers. My generation would never do that. I'm sorry. The book was published in the 80s, and it is a relatively accurate representation of how fascism spread through Nazi Germany. So everything you said is wrong. I'm sorry. It still applies today, as we can see with the current United States. All of this information still applies today. It's just this situation we are talking about, because it is based on a true story. This situation is not a millennial and Gen Z issue. Kids are smoking in their classrooms. This wasn't millennials. This wasn't Gen Z. Another thing popped into my head. What was I gonna say? Like a whole other like thing popped into my mind. What was I gonna say? Time out. Okay, maybe I won't remember this. But yeah, it's if you guys had to read a book this year, I truly think The Wave is a great choice. It's such an educational moment for all of us that I think I highly recommend it. I highly recommend it. I really do. But that's The stream was not as long as I thought it was gonna be. That's good. That's nice. Kept it nice and tight. Next book. I actually do believe I know what the next book is going to be. So I read this book. It was like during my sophomore year of high school, during finals. I read this book, and I was gonna read it again for the next stream. But then, as I was looking into it a little bit, I found out that there are 2 other books. It's the second book in the series, and there are 2 other books. So we're gonna be reading the first book in that series. Do I actually know what it's called? Oh, it's close. It's on the tip of my tongue. Code of Silence. Code of Silence is the name of the book that I'm reading by Tim Schumacher, I believe is the author. I will, of course, put the full accurate information on my Instagram today. But that's the next book that we're reading. Still don't remember the last thing I was gonna say about the wave, so that's cool. But yeah, this has been another book stream. Until next time, valedictions, friends. This has been another book stream. Until next time, valedictions, friends.